Hey guys, welcome to Jets Central here on Jets TV. As always, comment, like, subscribe, guys. Comment, like, subscribe on the videos. I was gonna upload this video yesterday, but YouTube was doing like some weird maintenance crap. I couldn't do it. As usual, I'm not on location. I'm traveling again, so no Jets apparel, but it's still Go Jets. I'm gonna get into my Week 4 recap picks. Excuse me, on Week 4 pick recap. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. I took Detroit over Dallas, and it worked out for me because that was a win. Detroit beat Dallas 34-30. Basically, Dallas came out and just blew a 24-point lead in the second half. Stafford had 240 yards, 2 TDs. Dallas really had Calvin Johnson bracketed in the first half, but when he came out in the second half, he had a big day. 8 receptions, 96 yards, and 2 TDs. A lot of people are trying to blame Tony Romo for this loss, and I think he shoulders a lot of it, but I think Dallas's defense gave up some points too. But Tony Romo threw 2 pick sixes. He had 331 yards. He threw 3 TDs, but he also had 3 interceptions. And again, those 2 pick sixes really hurt them really, really bad. And I mean, you got former Cowboys, former coaches of the Cowboys just come out and blasting Tony Romo. Basically, Deion Sanders or Michael Irvin came out and just basically said after the game that Tony Romo is not the quarterback of the future for the Cowboys. The Cowboys basically need to come out and draft another quarterback, and that Tony Romo's a fraud, and that it's time to stop lying about Tony Romo. and I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, you might as well go ahead and throw the kitchen sink at him too. I mean, you threw everything else at him. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Dallas. Hey, Cowboys fans, please comment. Let me know what's going on there. I took Chicago over Carolina. That worked out for me. That was a win too, 29-34. Cam Newton had a big day, 374 yards, 1 TD. Steve Smith also had a pretty big day, 8 catches and 181 yards. But Matt Forte pretty much had a bigger day, 25 carries and 105 yards and a TD. Carolina's run defense is horrible. It's just absolutely atrocious, and they need to fix that. Their defense as a whole is horrible, Carolina. And if you guys don't get that together, I don't know what to tell you. I took Buffalo over Cincinnati. That was a loss, 20-23. Cincinnati beat Buffalo. Fitzpatrick had 199 yards. He actually went 20 for 34. But Andy Dalton and that offense there in Cincinnati just had a big day. 18 for 36. 298 yards, had a TD. Benson had 104 yards on the ground. A.J. Green had 4 catches for 118 yards. I mean, Cincinnati just really put up some numbers there. You know, to be such a young offense outside of Cedric Benson. You know, they went in there and got the job done. And Buffalo also blew a 17-point lead. Let's not forget to say that. Thanks, Buffalo. You got me a loss. 31-13, Tennessee at Cleveland. I took Cleveland. That was another loss. Cleveland was just outclassed in this game. They didn't even really. They just went in there and got spanked. Chris Johnson had a decent day, 101 yards on the ground. He showed up. But Colt McCoy for the Cleveland Browns, 40 for 61, 351 yards, 1 TD. Their offense is not built for Colt McCoy to be throwing for 350-something yards. I mean, seriously, come on, Cleveland. Minnesota at Kansas City. I took Minnesota. Of course, that was a loss. 17-22 was the score. McNabb had 202 yards, 2 TDs. Matt Castle had 260 and a TD. Dwayne Bowe had 5 catches, 107 yards and a TD. I mean, whatever. It's Kansas City, Minnesota. Washington at St. Louis. I took Washington, and that was a win, 17-10. It was a pretty close game. Grossman, 143 yards and 1 TD. Ryan Terrain basically came out and ran the ball pretty well, 19 carries, 135 yards and 1 TD. Bradford had 164 yards and a TD for the Rams. The Rams just don't play well. They just aren't playing very well, and I don't want to hear about injuries or any excuses from the Rams. You guys just aren't playing well. 23-10, New Orleans, Jacksonville. I took New Orleans. That was another win for me. Drew Brees, 31-44, 351 yards and a TD. I mean, those are just big-time numbers. It's the Saints. Blaine Gabbert went 16-42, 196. a TD. Oh, God, Jacksonville. I mean, really, get your offense together. Pittsburgh, Houston. I took Houston. That was another win for me. 10-17. Ben Roethlisberger was getting hassled all day. That offensive line for the Steelers is just horrible. Those tackles are horrible, too. He actually got injured in that game. He might have a walking boot on, and he might try to play in the next game. But I think if Ben tries that, he's just putting himself in more danger because that offensive line is horrible. And if he can't move, whew, he's going to end up getting blasted this year. Matt Schaub with 14-21. He had 138 yards and a TD. And Foster also had 30 carries and 155 yards in a TD. Andre Johnson went down in this game. Thought it was a knee injury. Actually ended up being a hamstring injury. He's had a surgery to reattach the hamstring. So he should be back in 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks. Depends. Because hamstring injuries tend to linger. So you never really know. San Francisco at Philly. Of course, I took Philly. That was a loss. San Francisco beat Philly 24-23. Alex Smith played really well. I'm not going to take anything away from Alex Smith. 21-33, 291 yards, and 3 TDs. You know, Gore ran really well, too. 15 carries, 127 yards, and a TD. I mean, Philly, come on. Get it together on your defense. You got all these stars, and you guys can't stop anybody. I mean, really. You know, Mike Vick was pretty much all that Philadelphia had offensively. He led him in rushing, and he also threw for 416 yards, 2 TDs, 30 for 46. I mean, come on, Philly. Like, get it together. God, Philadelphia. I don't want to hear any more about your dream team, okay? Jesus. The Giants beat Arizona. I took the Giants in this game, 31-27. Eli Manning came out and had 321 yards. Keem Nicks came out and had 162 yards and 1 TD. Kevin Cobb threw for about 237. Larry Fitzgerald caught 102 yards, and he also had a TD. You know, typical game. I took Atlanta over Seattle. That was a win. 28-30. Matt Ryan came out and threw for 291 yards. He also had a TD. But the big deal about this game, and I'm not going to make it a huge deal, I'm just saying it's a big deal, is Tavares Jackson actually played really well in this game. He went 25 for 38, 319 yards, and 3 TDs. I thought he played pretty well. That's the best I've seen Tavares Jackson since... That's the best I've seen Tavares Jackson actually play. So I don't know if he's coming around or... if he's gotten it, or maybe, you know, he's settling in. I don't know. But we'll see. I'm keeping my eyes on you, Tavares Jackson. No homo. 26-16, Miami at San Diego. I picked San Diego this game. Phillip Rivers came out and threw for 21 for 31. He had 307 yards. He had a TD. And this is all without Antonio Gates. Miami just looks bad. They look really bad. They had a Moore come out. He just is getting rocked. I mean... San Diego at full strength really could have put up 50 on the Dolphins yesterday. It was really bad. New England at Oakland. I took New England. I won that game too. Brady went 16 for 30, 226 yards, 2 TDs. Wes Welker had a monster game. 9 receptions, 158 yards, and a TD. But Campbell for the Raiders threw for 344 yards. That was a pretty big deal. I think, you know, Oakland played stout, but just New England figured things out, and at the end of the day, New England beat them. That was pretty much all it was. Also, Richard Seymour had some big penalties. I don't know if he was trying to make a statement because, you know, the Patriots let him go, didn't pay him, but his statements just turned into penalties. He had 3 big-time penalties. One of the bigger penalties that he had in that game was a roughing the passer call against Tom Brady. He just, like, picked him up, slammed him into the ground way after the ball was gone. You know, those, again, Oakland, penalties, they add up at the end of the day. 23-49, Denver at Green Bay. I picked Green Bay. Denver's just horrible. Aaron Rodgers came out and threw for 20. He went 29-38, 408 yards and 4 TDs. He also had 2 TDs rushing. The man had 6 TDs by himself. You know, just a big day. It's Green Bay. Indy at Tampa Bay. I took Tampa Bay. They beat Indy. This was a very close game up until like the 4th quarter. They were going, you know, bar for bar. Painter came out. Painter's the Colts quarterback now that Peyton Manning isn't playing anymore. this season. 281 yards and 2 TDs. He made some pretty decent throws. But Josh Freeman went 25 of 39, 287 yards. He had a TD. But the big deal about this game was the running game of the Tampa Bay Bucks. It really kept him in and really made plays for him. LeGarrette Blount was the man in that game. 25 carries, 127 yards, and he had a TD. It was just a big time game. By LeGarrette Blount. It was just basically line up and I'm just going to outman you football, just run you over. And last but not least, the New York Jets versus the Baltimore Ravens. This was just a really hard game to watch. I mean, 5 turnovers. Defense actually ended up, well, it was more than 5 turnovers, but it was 5 defensive touchdowns in this game. Both offenses were horrible. I mean, Joe Flacco went like 10 for 31. He only had 163 yards. It was just bad. I mean, both quarterbacks sucked, but Joe Flacco sucked less than Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez went 11 for 35. He had 119 yards, but he had 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 picks. It was just bad. It was just plain bad. Mark Sanchez just played horrible. Our offensive line is absolutely just got exposed. They're garbage. Colin Backstar starting center. It was just he just didn't play well at all, which was expected. He's a 6th-round pick. And the Ravens just basically keyed in on him, like I said, and they sent blitzes up, and he was confused. Our offensive line depth is really thin, and I've said this since the beginning of the season, but we just got exposed that night. They brought in Vladimir Dukas, took Colin Baxter out, put Matt Slauson in. Vlad just looks confused as usual. He has no idea what he's doing out there. And Matt Slauson isn't a center. I mean, it was just bad. It was everything, every phase of the game outside of defense, the Jets just looked horrible. And we lost the game. I took the Jets. We lost 17-34. You know, Baltimore just came in and just got the job done defensively. I mean, it was just horrible. There were some comments made by Santonio Holmes after the game. He pretty much blasted the offense. He said it, basically, this is exactly what he said. It starts up front with the big guys. Mark has to do a better job making his reads. That's all he said to the that's all he said to the media. It was true, but you cannot let stuff like that get outside the locker room. That's the only really problems that I have with Santonio's comments, because honestly, it does. Mark threw a pick 6 in the 4th quarter, I believe it was. I mean, and it was an easy read. I saw the corner there. I mean, he was bracketed. It was 2 corners there. Either one of them could have made the play. I mean, he had no clue. He was so shell-shocked. He'd been rocked all game because that offensive line wasn't blocking. He was just so shell-shocked, he just started to make mistakes, and it just shows. Our running game was horrible. Green only ran for 23 yards. I mean, come on. I don't want to hear any more about a Super Bowl this year, about us winning a Super Bowl and we're going to roll. No, we need to win games, okay? That's what Jets needs to do. Shut up and win games. That's it. I don't want to hear any more about a Super Bowl. They tried to trot Nick Mangold out there earlier in the game. I don't want to see Nick Mangold anymore. He has a high ankle sprain. He shouldn't be playing until at least probably the 6th week, if not the 7th week. Stop trotting him out there. Stop trotting him out there and making it seem like he's going to play, because he's not. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the Jets. I'm tired of us just getting in our own ways, okay? We knew our offensive line was going to be thin. We knew that. Going into free agency, go after some linemen. What do? We chase Niamdi. We give him all this money. You see what he's doing in Philly. Nothing. So why didn't we go and get some offensive linemen? These are the questions that I have. Why didn't we just get Cromartie's deal done early and go after some offensive linemen, get them in here so they can make plays? I mean, come on. We just got to do better. But it was a really hard game to watch, and I didn't really want to recap it because it was trash. So whatever. As usual, this is Jets TV, Jets Central. Please comment, rate, subscribe, guys. Like. And, you know, I'll see you when I see you. Come on, Jets. We've got to do better, man.